The deep dive is back, and today, wow, we are tackling the story that has just completely taken over the digital world. The unbelievable, explosive, and honestly, the chaotic rise of ChatGPT and OpenAI.
It is truly historic. I mean, if you've been watching this unfold, it's something else.
Yeah, and if you've been following the sources we've been looking at, especially from channels like NexTalk, you know the narrative is just absolutely intense.
Right. We're watching a technology go from, an online experiment to a global phenomenon that has fundamentally changed everything. Education, business.
Even how we think about thinking. So our mission today is to get past the hype. We want to deep dive into the whole story.
The full picture.
The full picture, the founding ideas,
Yeah.
the massive tech loops, the corporate chaos that almost killed it, and these huge ethical questions that it just throws right in our faces.
And to really set the stage, we have to talk about the fear that came first. This thing did not arrive quietly.
Not at all.
I mean, you have to remember, Stephen Hawking warned that AI could be the biggest threat to humanity. And Elon Musk.
Who are we talking a lot about?
Oh, yeah. He called it more dangerous than nuclear weapons.
And yet you contrast that fear, that deep existential dread with what we have now.
The scale is staggering.
Over 700 million weekly users, 1 billion requests every single day. And it's commanding, what, 80% of the AI market?
80%. And that brings us to the central irony of this whole story.
Exactly. How did this organization, which started as a nonprofit to prevent corporate control,
To help the average person?
right, how did it become the biggest, most dominant corporate leader in the space? It's the ultimate paradox.
It really is.
Okay, so let's unpack this. We have to start at the very beginning.
The beginning. So we're going back to December 8th, 2015. OpenAI is founded, and it's a nonprofit organization. The mission was, well, it was crystal clear.
Right. Keep AGI safe.
Ensure that artificial general intelligence, AGI, benefits all of humanity, not just the big guys.
Not just Google, Facebook, Microsoft.
Exactly. The ones they saw as already hoarding the best research talent and data.
And the people that got involved were, I mean, it was a who's who of Silicon Valley. You had Sam Altman.
Who was already a legend from Y Combinator, right?
Yeah.
Backing companies like Airbnb, Dropbox.
Quora, yeah. And then, of course, Elon Musk, who comes in with this massive promise of $1 billion to get the whole thing started.
And it wasn't just them. You had Reid Hoffman from LinkedIn, Peter Thiel from PayPal, even big corporate backing from Amazon Web Services and Infosys. The whole idea was pure open source research.
No market pressure.
Zero market pressure. And in those first few years, they started building tools to speed up AI research for everyone.
Right, like Jim in Universe.
Yeah, between 2016 and 2017, these were basically toolkits to train computers on complex tasks, even video games like Grand Theft Auto V.
Wow.
Then came Baseline. And Baseline was huge because it was a shared library of reinforcement learning algorithms, so researchers everywhere didn't have to start from scratch.
They could just grab a tool and go. It accelerated everything.
It did, and that early work really led to the first big breakthrough in 2018.
GPT-1.
GPT-1, a model trained on millions of sentences that could, for the first time really, predict the next word in a sequence and generate its own coherent sentences. It was a crack in the door.
But just as they're getting this momentum, boom, a massive internal conflict.
A huge one. On February 20th, 2018, Elon Musk just abruptly quits the board.
And the official reason was a conflict of interest.
Yeah, that was the story. A conflict with Tesla's own self-driving program. He said they'd be competing for the same AI engineers.
But the sources we've seen suggest something else was going on, something deeper, and it was really about control.
That's what many employees believed, that Musk wanted to merge OpenAI with Tesla to get full control over the research.
And the other founders just, they wouldn't do it. They held firm on that nonprofit mission.
They did. But that principled stand became incredibly expensive very fast.
Because when Musk walked, the money walked with him.
Most of it. He'd only invested about $45 million of that promised billion. Suddenly, this nonprofit is facing a catastrophic funding crisis.
Wow, nearly $1 billion short.
And they needed that money to train the next much bigger models.
So that crisis really forced their hand, but the technology they were building on, its roots go back decades, right? To really get why ChatGPT works, You have to look back.
Oh, absolutely. The core ideas go back to the mid-'80s, these neural networks trying to understand sequences.
Like Michael Jordan's work.
Right. In 1986, he trained what's called a recurrent neural network, an RNN, using these little state units, which were like memory neurons.
To predict the next symbol.
Exactly. And he found it wasn't just memorizing lists, it was learning generalized patterns. He called them attractors.
And then Jeffrey Ullman took that idea and scaled it up for language itself, and what he found was kind of amazing.
It was fascinating. The network figured out things like word boundaries on its own. And when he mapped its internal structure, he saw it was learning semantic mining. It was clustering words based on how they're used.
So it was organizing itself.
Yes. For instance, it would group inanimate nouns into clusters like breakable things and edible things, just based on the sentences it read. It was learning abstract concepts.
That is such a powerful idea that intelligence is basically just compression.
Yeah.
Your brain doesn't store 30,000 photos of a cat. It compresses all that into a predictive model of cats.
Exactly. But those early RNNs had a huge weakness, a crippling one, actually.
A memory problem.
The memory problem. They processed data one word at a time, so they had a very fixed, very short context window. If a text was too long,
It would just forget the beginning.
it would completely forget the beginning and just, drift off into gibberish. Coherence was impossible over long sequences.
Okay, and this is where it gets really interesting, because the game totally changed in 2017,
The Google paper. Attention is all you need.
which introduced the transformer architecture.
And the transformer it blew the doors off the memory problem, getting rid of processing things one by one. It introduced self-attention.
So instead of one word at a time, every word can look at every other word in the sentence simultaneously.
All at the same time. It's parallel processing. It makes training exponentially faster and lets you scale these things to an insane degree.
Can you give us an example of how that works?
Sure. Think of the sentence. The river has a steep bank. An old model would struggle with the word bank. Is it a money bank? A river bank?
Right.
With self-attention, the word bank looks at all the other words, sees river, and instantly knows, we're talking about the side of a river. It resolves that ambiguity dynamically.
And OpenAI had already seen hints of this kind of emergent intelligence, right, with the sentiment neuron.
Yes. That was a huge internal discovery. They trained a big network on 82 million Amazon reviews, and they found a single neuron that had taught itself to perfectly classify if a review was positive or negative.
An abstract concept.
Yeah.
Just emerging from next word prediction.
It showed them they were on the verge of something enormous, which brings us right back to that existential crisis in 2019.
A money problem.
They had this incredible technology, but no cash. So they had to make a change, a
Yeah.
huge structural change.
They shifted from a nonprofit to this cap profit model.
Which was, frankly, ingenious. It was a legal structure designed to save the mission. It let them bring in huge investors
Like Microsoft.
by promising them a profit, but only up to a limit. So the focus could legally stay on humanitarian goals, not just making endless money.
And it worked. Microsoft came in with $1 billion.
And just as critically, the supercomputing infrastructure.
Hmm.
All those powerful NVIDIA GPUs you need to train these giant models.
Which let them launch GPT-2.
The one they were so scared of, they initially held it back, right?
Right.
Because it could write these incredibly human-like paragraphs, and they were worried about fake news and spam.
Then GPT-3 in 2020, which was even more powerful.
Mm.
But it was still nerdy. You had to be a programmer to use it.
It was totally inaccessible to the average person. And that was the key realization. The next step wasn't just a bigger AI.
It was the interface.
It was making it simple, turning that powerful engine into a simple conversational chatbot. They wrapped GPT 3.5 in a dialogue system, and that was ChatGPT.
And the launch on November 30th, 2022.
Yeah.
That was the big bang. The growth was just, it was unlike anything the tech world had ever seen.
Not even close. It hit 1 million users in 5 days.
5 days. I mean, it took Instagram 2.5 years to do that. Netflix took 3 years.
It became the fastest growing piece of consumer software in history. 100 million users in 2 months.
And the reasons were so simple, really.
Fundamentally simple. 1, it was easy. Anyone could just talk to it. 2, it was free at first.
Right.
And 3, it felt human. It wasn't robotic. It had nuance.
And that immediately caused this massive disruption across, well, every industry.
Every single one. We saw the sources talking about students using it for homework, coders using it to fix bugs in seconds.
That Instagram caption example was wild. A 30-minute job for a human writer, done in 46 seconds.
The impact on education was just Profound. It passed exams for MBA programs, law schools, and you have academics now saying that any school trying to ban it is making a futile and stupid mistake.
We're trying to ban the calculator.
Exactly. You have to adapt.
And with that adaptation, this whole new skill has emerged. Prompt engineering.
The single most critical new skill, it's what employers are looking for now.
Yeah, that anecdote about the 15-year-old kid